anything sparks off in the match in Indonesia, it's going to carry over very, very quickly over to the game in the Philippines.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a lot of time to breathe from that one. So tempers might flare in that one, but I'm expecting that it's going to be a good battle and something with a little bit of undertone, going along with that game. So I like that because there's not a lot of rivalries in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Not quite yet, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Across the Line. On this episode, we talk all about AFC Cup 2020. Ceres Negros, currently the number 1 ranked Southeast Asian team, will be involved alongside Kaya FC Iloilo. It's going to be a very exciting next few months of continental football, and we break it all down. So if you enjoy this episode and you enjoy the football content that we provide here on Across the Line, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to another edition of Across the Line. Today we talk all about AFC Cup 2020. We are on the verge of another big continental competition, and we've got 2 teams involved. Ceres Negros, who is currently ranked number 1 in the whole of Southeast Asia, and Kaya FC Iloilo. Jing Jamlang and Chris Greatwich, as always, and this is going to be a fun one. I mean, we are on the cusp of a big competition, and it seems like the Philippines is ready to make a real statement on this occasion of the competition, not just with Ceres Negros, but KFC Iloilo as well. I'm pretty excited about what is to come in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, obviously we're just fresh off of the, I say disappointing result, but good performance of Ceres in the final preliminary round of the AFC Champions League qualification.
Yep.
The game against FC Tokyo ended up being a 2-0 loss, although I don't know if you watched the sort of the final moments of the game. Ceres had a really good opportunity in and around the edge of the box. Mendy had a shot which was blocked. Super then went to latch onto the rebound, and it looked as though he was felled in the box. And I remember I was watching the game and I was thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to get a penalty here. It was one of those sort of clear-cut looking leg swipes.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for the referee to blow. I mean, it would have taken a very brave referee in the 89th minute to give an away penalty in such an important game. And in the end, he did bottle the decision. Lo and behold, straight from the decision to not award the penalty, FC Tokyo go on the break. Long ball upfield. Centre back is outpaced by the forward, who then delicately chips the ball over Roland into the net for the 2-0. So up until that point, sort of right up until the death, it was a very even contest. Roland made a few really good saves, but the conditions were the real leveler here. It was standing water. I mean, arguably could have been called off. But I think overall, Ceres can be really proud of the campaign. Victories against Shan United and
Port
and Thai Port. Given the short preparation, the short window between the games, I think they came out of that campaign with the heads held high, and tremendous to get that kind of exposure against one of Asia's powerhouses, really.
I didn't know that they were that close at the very end. I had seen like bits and pieces of it, and of course it was very difficult to watch given the conditions, right? I mean, it's worse than some of the stuff we've seen here in the Philippines, It's something that you don't expect, especially when you know that the game is going to be played in Tokyo. It was cold, it was raining, it was miserable weather, but wow. I mean, 2-0, that alone to me wasn't a bad result. But to know that they actually had an opportunity to tie that game very late on, it would have been quite a historic victory for them or result for them if they had gotten that. Wow. But nevertheless, they get they get booted out of the Champions League qualifying. They move back into AFC Cup. They are in Group G, and with it, they take a tag that is pretty lofty. I mean, when you are called the number 1 club in Southeast Asia, that is a target on your back. First and foremost, how do you feel about that? Do you agree? Number 1 in Southeast Asia, that's quite a title.
So normally the stats don't lie, right? So when you work out based on the points that they've acquired through 3 seasons on the bounce. They've made the knockout rounds of the ASEAN zone. Obviously won it the year before last, lost in the final last year. It would seem to suggest that they were in and around that number 1 spot, certainly based on the points that they've accrued from the AFC Cup. I then went and actually looked at the top 10 list, and I also see Global are at number 8.
Outrageous.
Right. So
come on.
I'm not trying to do Ceres a disservice because obviously they've performed extremely well. But I think maybe there is a better way of compiling this list, maybe like a power ranking system based on the actual quality of the domestic league that the individual club is in, and then temper that with their performances on the continental stage, because I think the number 2 team is Buriram, who have been kind of perennial number 1 sort of consensus number 1 pick for that particular slot. Them and kind of JDT have always been the teams who have been, sort of earmarked as the premier team in Southeast Asia. Do I think Ceres are in that bracket now? Absolutely. I would definitely say they're definitely up there with those types of teams. Again, that the performance and the result against Taiport would certainly suggest that. But I think we have to sort of take those rankings with a little bit of a pinch of salt, based on the fact, like I said, Global were number 8, yet they finished 7th in the PFL last year. Yeah, with 1 game won.
And some of them they didn't even show up for. So right. I mean,
let's kind of shed a little bit of light on that. However, I do think that in itself does create a target on the back of Ceres, because I remember their first campaign when I was coach also at Kaya. We both qualified out of the group stage, and there wasn't that level of expectancy really.
That was the first 2016. That was the first time that Filipino teams had moved on. From
so
the group stage.
we were a bit upset because we could have qualified if we would have got a draw against Kitchi, which was the penultimate game. We could have qualified first, right, ahead of. But in the end, it worked out that they qualified a day earlier, but the same round we both qualified.
Sure.
So it was nice that 2 Filipino teams are qualified out at the group stage for the first time in AFC competition. And then from there, I've always felt like ASEAN countries were looking at the Philippines as being, okay, right, we need to keep an eye on those teams because they are, although they're fairly new to continental competition, something's brewing. Yeah. Something's brewing here. You could feel it. Obviously, like even last year, Kaya were 1 game away from qualifying. Yep. I think had they got better results against PSM Makassar, then
Lao Toyota, I would say.
Actually, probably
the first one.
But that was the first game, right? Yeah. I think they even had their opportunities, and they had banner wins against
Home United
at home. When they absolutely trounced them. Yeah. Again, was like a real statement of intent at that time. So it was a bit disappointing in the end for them not to qualify. But I definitely feel as though Ceres are now known as, absolutely nailed on. We are expected to win this competition now. Yeah. And with that comes certain expectations, and with that comes certain targets that obviously teams are going to look at them and say, right, if we can beat Ceres, an all-star Ceres team, that would be a huge scalp for any ASEAN team.
100%.
And I'm looking at their group. They've got my Vietnamese is not too strong. Tan Quang Ninh.
Yeah.
Is that good pronunciation or not? I'm sure any Vietnamese listeners will probably laugh at that. They got Bali.
That's a tough one. I think that's the bogey team there.
Yeah, and then Srei Rieng.
Yeah. To be honest, you're looking at me like I'm a source of verification, and I've got nothing for you. I'm just gonna say,
yes,
that's fine.
So I'm looking at that. I mean, obviously they fell foul to the Vietnamese side last season in the ASEAN Zone final
with Hanoi.
With Hanoi, who when you look at their team, they are stacked with national team players.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, obviously their national team has had a real resurgence in the last 2 or 3 years. So, we have to assume that that's going to be another tough task for them. Bali have injected a lot of money into their team.
They're not playing games, Bali United.
They're not playing games.
Yeah, actually, they're in the process of making their own training facility.
Yeah.
The first one in Indonesia.
Yeah. The setup looks amazing. Some of the projections that they've put out.
Yeah. The
models and stuff look really, really nice.
The owner of the team is actually a bit of a friend of the clubs of the Filipino teams, because the Southeast Asian teams went out for a night out during the AFC conference, and we become chummy with him.
Right.
And he was sharing all this information about like his plans, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like it's like world-class training facilities,
Yeah.
and you are 100 meters away from the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great little setup that he's got going on over there.
I'm sure there's not going to be many people going to be turning down opportunities to play. Bali United sounds like a great place to play football, right?
Yeah.
So
there was a collective cheer once Bali United was named into Group G. Everybody else in Group G was like, "Yes, we're going to Bali."
I remember when we got drawn with a team from the Maldives.
Yeah.
That was also the same. For me, I'd been there twice already, so I knew some of the logistical issues that both the team and the players would face.
Right.
But the players were obviously like, "Oh, this is going to be superb." But the one thing that was the saving grace with that was we knew it was going to be the last game.
Right.
In the group, so we were okay with that one.
Yeah.
I'd be a bit nervous if Bali was up in the early. Bali away for Ceres would be up early, because it could be it could be seen as a little vacation hotspot for some of their players. But but then definitely not kidding around. They are definitely, again, a club that's looking to try to get that moniker as the top side in ASEAN.
Bali United, of course, they won the league last year in Indonesia, and they won it by quite a margin too, which is really impressive given that there's like 20 teams inside that league.
And it's competitive.
It's competitive.
Yeah.
Right. So Bali United are definitely on the rise, and a team to look out for. That's going to be the one that they're going to be most worried about, I think.
You think so?
I think the Vietnamese team is not as good as Hanoi. They finished 13 points off the pace last year. And they look like a decent side, although when you look at the level and caliber of Ceres, they should be able to handle it. I mean, they've already played Thai Port, they've already played FC Tokyo and Shan United. So they're not as if they're coming in fresh or cold into this competition. So I would expect that they would be able to handle the challenge that'll be brought to them. So Ceres will get out of this group, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, we were talking off mic a little bit about the Cambodian League. They have been investing some money. They seem to be bringing in a lot of international, whether it be coaches and players of decent caliber. Like I said, a guy from my A license has just taken over at one of the clubs in the Cambodian League at Vishaka. Are they just going to be an unknown quantity, you think? Or I mean, because they haven't performed very well at club level to this point.
They were undefeated last year in their league,
right?
So there's some expectations of them, and they had apparently just demolished the Brunei DPMM, who were the champions of S League just a couple of days ago. Yeah. So certainly, Ceres are not going to take them lightly, and there's no what I would be worried about is if they did take these teams lightly. But given from the data from last year, where they would show up to play Mendiola Green Archers and not lose a step in motivation, then I'm sure they're going to get up for these AFC Cup matches, right? Okay. So I think it's going to be a good show. I think it's going to be good football being played, given the level that Cambodia has been playing, especially when you saw the SEA Games and how they're moving in that direction of organized, confident passing football.
Very progressive football, aren't they? Yeah.
So I think it'll be nice to watch, those two teams trying to express themselves on the ball. But I think in the end, Ceres is just a little too good, a little too solid defensively. I think that'll be the key as well. And they're so good at keeping the ball. So, I'm not sure how much time that Cambodian team has spent playing a low block or being forced to run after the ball. Yeah. So I think that'll be the difference.
Because I'm guessing, judging by the sounds of it, you're saying that they ran away with the league last year.
That's right.
It's going to be a different kettle of fish when you're up against an opponent that's going to have probably 60-70% ball possession. Exactly. Which typically Ceres has in most games.
Which is, to me, ridiculous. Like, that is an accomplishment on its own, that they are able to conduct themselves at that level on this stage.
Yeah. And they've got them up first, right? It's the 11th?
Yes.
They play them?
Yes.
In Rizal?
In Rizal.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be amazing. For everybody in Metro Manila who were starved of football last year, you'd have to go to Binyan, you'd have to go to all the way to Batangas to be able to watch matches, right? This year, almost every 2 weeks from February to May, there's going to be a home match at Rizal Memorial Stadium because both Ceres and Kaya are going to be playing their matches there, and they're going to be alternating every 2 weeks or so. So if you're a football fan, not necessarily a supporter of Ceres or Kaya, come out. Watch these teams from Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia. In Kaya's group, there's going to be teams from Singapore, Myanmar, and Indonesia. So it's going to be a fantastic showcase of good football.
Have they fixed all the bleachers now on the other side? There's all the seats and that?
I believe so.
Yeah. Obviously for the SEA Games, they're all in. I'm assuming they're still there.
Yeah.
Haven't ripped them out.
Yeah.
Because I think that will help with the atmosphere also.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we used to play there, I think when the grandstand will be full, that will create its own atmosphere. But obviously having that, excuse me, additional support that can come in, they're typically cheaper seats. It just provides that more, again, sort of 360 atmosphere, which is great and it is more typically more inclusive.
Yeah.
Anyone can just show up and grab a seat, which is nice. Sort of following your call to action, I really hope that the local football community come out and support both Ceres and Kaya because, like you said, they've been starved of local football. Their turnout was great for the SEA Games, which we emphasised before. And we're fully expecting both teams to perform well in this competition. So if you have been starved of football in the metro area, great opportunity to see some really high-level football and some really top teams from the ASEAN region up close and personal and live. So that's great. I'm excited to see them play this year. I think it's a tough group for Ceres, but I have to agree with you. I think just based on how they've performed in this competition, how they performed last year in the league, and then how they seemingly have not skipped a beat coming off that Christmas break. I think it's going to be a tough task for any team in the ASEAN region to put the stop on Ceres. I'm looking at the other teams from the other groups. I just can't see it happening. I think they are going to be the team to beat in this competition, and I definitely think that I think when it comes to the sort of zonal finals, which will be in August, September time. Is that correct?
Something like that.
Right, it's later on in the year. It's had the break after after the group stage. I think Ceres will be there. Yeah. I think Ceres will be there in the ASEAN final again. And I'd love to see them regain the rightful title as the best team in the ASEAN zone, and hopefully put to bed a little bit of this what seemingly is a little bit of an obscure moniker in being sort of ASEAN's number one ranked team when you've got some like I said, some obscure names in that list. Because I think if you are the ASEAN zone champions, then you have the right to say that you are the number one team. So I think that's a pretty comprehensive look at Ceres's group. Kaya's group is also looks like a pretty tough task. I mean, they've got Tampines Rovers, perennial contenders in this competition. Shan United, who obviously we saw in the AFC Champions League knockout preliminary rounds because Ceres played them in the first round there, and then an old foe in PSM Makassar. How do you see this group turning out if you have your objective hat on?
If I have my my biased hat says we're going through, but my objective hat says it's gonna be very, very tight. Yeah, very, very tight. I mean, PSM are going through a little bit of a shuffle, which provides a bit of hope in that department. I think we weren't too far away last year, but they lost their Dutch midfielder in Mark Klok. He's moved over to Persija. He's a big player. And
is that where also Adam Mitter's gone?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, Adam Mitter, I think, has gone to Persija as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations to him. That's a big club. That's a 70,000 every game if you're playing at home, that one.
I want to meet his agent because he's getting some moves, this guy. Adam Mitter, unbelievable.
Yeah.
He went to Valor FC in Canada. A few guys I know who have been playing out in Canada. I tell you who has gone out to Canada and has done really well is Son, the former Korean player for Ceres.
Oh.
Yeah, he went out there.
Oh, wow.
Don't quote me on this, even though it's going to go out and it's very quotable. Apparently met a girl, moved to Canada, and then ended up just sort of dropping in on a session one day, and they were like, "No, we really like you. We'd like to sign you."
Wow.
And it's done really well.
Imagine how
Yeah, so that's that. But
super lucky for that club, huh?
unbelievable. Yes, so it's going on with the theme of Philippine football. But so back to PSO Makassar.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's interesting about this is last year that it became a little bit heated.
Yeah.
Because of
there's an incident
with Jalso Soriano.
Jalso had a kick at Mark Clock, right? So I was telling him just the other day, actually, that his best friend is now gone. So that's a bit unfortunate, right? There was a chance there to make amends. And, Jalso had a moment where, things went dark in his mind. And he just decided that, he was going to unleash a little bit. And he paid for that. There was a big fine that was given to him. And he was suspended for 3 games. So he's not going to be involved in the next 2 matches.
Oh, is that right? Because it was basically, do you want to refresh everyone's memory of what happened?
It was late in the game, chasing the match. We had been down, I think, 2-0. I'm not sure at what point the incident happened, whether it was 2-1 or 2-0, but there was... Clock was a bit of an instigator. He's the type of guy that knows how to get physical and then pull back right when the referee is watching. So he had been having a bit of a swipe at Jalsor. He had gotten kicked and gotten to the ground, and he had kicked out a little bit at Jalsor. Jalsor had moved away from the kick and then decided to respond by kicking him in the chest, right? Like a full swing kick. There's no excuse. There's nothing, it's shameful behavior, and he was reprimanded for that. Obviously, there's a 3-game suspension, which he served the first one against Lao Toyota, the last AFC Cup match in 2019, and then he's got 2 more. So he's going to miss the opener against Shan United in Myanmar, and he's going to miss the first home game against Tampines Rovers. He's paid a significant fine, which the club did not help him with because it was his. That's him. You have to own up to your individual action. So, and then he was kept off the field for a little while domestically. So there was a long little situation there where Jalsor needed a lot of reflecting to be done. Yeah. And I think he's come out the other side and understands that he's a veteran now. Yeah. He's the type of player that the team really relies on, and he's a senior figure and should not act in that manner. So I think the club was correct in dealing with him, and now he's going to have to sit on the sidelines, unfortunately, for the next 2 games.
There was a huge backlash as well on social media from the Indonesian fans.
Yeah, just about 100,000 messages, 100 messages a day for, I don't know, a month or 2.
Straight.
Yeah. And you were telling me that even the Kaya Academy the Academy page was getting...
It was horrific, some of the things that were said.
Yeah.
And we're posting pictures of, 7-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And then they're on the comments swearing, and it's not just one comment, the odd comment. I can deal with the odd comment.
Yeah.
But then the comments are just
it's just a rain.
It's just it's raining comments, about 7-year-old kids, and I'm like, whoa, okay, let's back off a little bit. This kid is 7. He doesn't need to be abused by a bunch of Indonesian football fans. But I think did tarnish the club's reputation a little bit, that kind of incident, because then why is people posting all these things on social media? Well, what happened was this, and then people will then search it, see the video, and be like, okay, well that's not the sort of behaviour that you would expect from someone at the club. But I know Jalso, and he's a pretty humble guy, for 99.9% of his life, and I think he's a phenomenal footballer. I've said on this show on many times, and I've worked with him for a number of years. I think he's a player who could potentially work his way into the national team. He's certainly got, on the ball, he's got great temperament, but like all really good footballers, he definitely has that little bit of fire in him that on occasions has got the better of him. And obviously in that instance, it did. And it's going to have huge repercussions, and not just for him, for the club also. Yeah. So, hopefully the coach will find a balance to address that particular issue. Because I think that could be the game where tempers could frail.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And the beautiful thing is, it's similar to last year. It's a back-to-back type situation.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So we're playing them away, and then 2 weeks later, we're playing them at home. So it's going to be one of those things where if anything sparks off in the match in Indonesia, it's going to carry over very, very quickly over to the game in the Philippines.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a lot of time to breathe from that one. So... Right. tempers might flare in that one,
Yeah.
but I'm expecting that it's going to be a good battle and something with a little bit of undertone, going along with that game. So I like that because there's not a lot of rivalries in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Not quite yet, right?
Yeah.
Shan United and Ceres have a bit of a rivalry.
Is that right? Yeah.
They've played one another a lot over the last 3 years.
Okay.
Although Ceres have been the winners for most of that, but so it's going to be a first time that we play against the Shan United side, and they're champions of Myanmar.
Yeah.
I believe they went undefeated last year, so we saw a bit of what they're capable of doing. But this season it's been a bit different for them. They've had 2 wins and 2 losses at the start of the Myanmar league, so
their league's already underway.
Yeah, that's the thing though. They're 4 games in. So they're, in terms of fitness, 100%, they're going to be ahead of the game. So, it's going to be an untested back line as well for Kaya. So it's going to be very interesting to see. There's been a lot of changes over the last few months.
Yeah.
New coach, couple new coaches.
Yeah.
At least 5 new players have checked in. The back line's going to get switched up. Masanari Omura, who was the most consistent player over the last 2 years, barely missed a match, started all the matches pretty much. He's going to be moving into midfield. So there's going to be a lot of question marks surrounding the team. From what I've seen, however, which isn't much, a couple friendlies here and there, the team is starting to look up a little bit. So you really can't tell what's going to happen, but until you see them in front of these quality opposition.
Yeah.
But there's been some changes, there's some fluidity, and there's some new talent that is going to be very exciting to watch.
Do you want to talk about some of the new signings?
Sure.
Because I think the club made an announcement on a couple of them yesterday.
Yes.
The Japanese guy.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce his name?
Daizo Horikoshi
Yeah.
from Kanagawa, Japan. So he was playing with Albert X Niigata, Singapore, last year in the S League. Only 23 years of age. Came in for a trial, and we weren't sure about him at all, actually. And then he came in, he impressed. He had flown in the night before and played in a friendly against FEU right off the bat. Played 90 minutes, or at least close to 90 minutes, and he impressed in that game. And then he continued to train, and he was still being considered. It was him and another guy that was still being considered for a little while. And then he impressed again. Very tricky, good on the ball, and very clever with his runs. Very selfless. Good crossing. I think he's one of those. He's a player that the club has been missing for a little while, which is like somewhat in the mold of Louis Clark, something like that. Like quick, decisive, willing to take on his man. And
nightmare to handle off the field.
Yeah. No. Well, that part I don't know yet. He seems to be a very mild-mannered fellow.
So nothing like Louis at all then.
On the field, that was what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
I mean, with the pace and just very confident as well for a 23-year-old, I would say. So he's actually a guy I'm very, very excited about. Was involved in all 5 goals in the last friendly against Stallion. 2 assists, 2 goals, and the last one he created out of nothing. So the other guy is Carlisle Mitchell, who's played in the MLS with the Whitecaps. I think, is that Vancouver?
Yeah, Vancouver.
Vancouver Whitecaps. Trinidad and Tobago International. Actually scored in the 2017 Gold Cup. So he's very experienced, played across Asia. He's a big guy.
Where does he come from? Where did he play before?
I think he's coming from Trinidad and Tobago at the moment.
Okay.
That was his last club, but he had played in Korea, 2nd division. He had played in India as well. So yeah, that's his experience in Asia. Been through quite a few clubs, so not sure if it's a fitness thing or what it is that's having a move around, but it seems like this is a new lease in life for him. So, I'm hoping that he takes full advantage of it.
Was he a Fabian Lewis recommendation or
I'm not
Darryl
sure.
Roberts?
Yeah, it could. Yeah. Darryl Roberts,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, for sure. But he's a big guy, and something that was lacking with the back line of Kaya, especially when playing against, the 6'4s, the 6'5s of PSM, which they had a lot of. We struggled with that a little bit. And he's got a goal threat from a corner. Yeah. So that's something that has been missing from Kaya for a little while.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got this is the surprise, right? This is when I can drop this one because he's already arrived and this episode is going to come out at a later date. But Takumi is part of the team now. Takumi Uesato, who used to play for JPV and for Ceres for a little while. He's a different mold of a striker, not the Robert Lopez Mendy type, but somebody that might be able to link up a little bit more with Joven and have a little bit more interplay with the wingers. And so, it could be some intricate football being played by the club. But Takumi Uesato, of course, very clever player and somebody that's already familiar with a lot of Filipino fans. Those are the three foreign players that have been added. Obviously,
Keeper Massa.
Yeah, Daryl has left, right? Jordan has left along with Alfredo Say, who has retired from football. For the homegrown players, it's Marco Casambre, who's coming back. So he's not really like a new face. He's more of a returnee as an academy player, then moved on to other teams and then came back. He's going to be finishing up his college degree, I believe. So
good.
that's his focus right now, and he wants to be able to play football as well. So he's got a spot in Kaya. He boosts the defense. And of course, the last one that was just announced was Roberto Corsame, who is a player from Tondo.
Is he the guy from the Sevens League?
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard a lot about this guy. Tell me more.
So
his story is quite intriguing, I think.
Yeah, it's his nickname is Papu, and I think he played for Arellano, moving up in college. But yeah, he was part of that Futcal program, Futcalera program, and he plays a lot of his football in the street, but he's got that raw talent. Like he's quick, tricky with the ball at his feet. He's got lightning pace. He's fearless, but as I said, still raw. He's not so astute yet in terms of positioning. So he's being placed in spots on the field where it's like you can be very single-minded. Make the runs. If we get you the ball, don't be afraid. Go after it and take the shot. And so right now he's proving to be that kind of player. Like if you just give him one specific instruction, let him go out there and do it. Yeah. And he looks like a dangerous threat in that regard. So,
okay, exciting.
And as you mentioned, great story behind him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be playing at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. That's his backyard, essentially near, the folks in Manila. So hopefully he'll be able to get a few minutes in the AFC and provide a little bit of inspiration to the folks over there in his hometown.
Yeah, that's great. And you'll be able to see him in action here in the Philippines against Tampines Rovers.
Yep.
And that game is
on the 26th.
26th, but their first game is away in Myanmar,
That's
Shan
right.
United on the 12th. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
That's correct. Okay.
So that Shan United game on the 12th is going to be at 5:00 local time. I think it's going to be a broadcast over TV5's cable channel.
That's right. I think same as the Ceres game as well. I read. Yesterday.
So there, and then definitely come out to the 26th, 7:00 at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. There's going to be an exhibition match at 5. It's going to be things to do outside of the stadium, and obviously the big match that's going to be happening. Tampines Rovers, no joke, finished second last year, perennial contenders in the AFC Cup. So if you want to see that kind of football, the team being tested against a real quality opposition, then definitely check it out.
I think it's going to be a really exciting campaign. I'm looking at two completely different teams. One very established, one already in the groove, already had some banner wins in this year already, despite the fact we're only 3 games into the season effectively, and then the league hasn't even started. Another team with new coaching staff. Do you want to just talk about that? Sorry, we haven't mentioned.
I didn't get a chance to mention that.
My fault. We'll go back to coaching staff. So there's 2 new coaches. Coach Noel Marqueda has moved on. Yeah. And 2 new coaches on the staff for this campaign. Coach
Yu Hoshide, who was the assistant last year, is the main guy for Kaya as of the moment, pending his license right now. He's finished his A course, but has not gotten the results yet, right? So there's been a bit of a delay in that department. Oliver Colina, who is known as Bing Bing, well known over in Cebu, and he's going to be coming in, and he's going to be the man with a license. He's already gotten his A license. Actually doesn't have his diploma yet, even though he took it like 2 years ago. But he's passed. He's on record as have passed that test, so he will have the license to be the coach for Kaya. How he integrates and what kind of what his contribution will be to the team is still up in the air, and something
Okay.
that we will be looking forward to finding out, what kind of a coach he is.
I saw he'd been involved with quite a few of the youth national teams before, and he's got pretty good pedigree within the school setup in Cebu.
Yeah,
That's
under
cool.
13, under 14s,
Yeah.
I believe, and Mike Casas is actually familiar with him, played under him when he was younger, so he's not a total
Not a
unknown
stranger.
entity, but obviously, it's going to be Coach Yu's vision, his style of play that's going to be implemented, and hopefully they'll be able to collaborate. I mean, Freddie Osei, who just retired, is also getting involved with some of the coaching. So we'll see how that transpires. But it seems the boys are pretty confident under Coach Yu.
Yeah,
as of the moment.
because what I was saying earlier, you got one group that's solid. It's already, the wheels are in motion.
Yeah.
They've had a couple of games already this season and picked up some big wins. On the other hand, you've got a team that's undergoing a complete rebuild, not just in terms of player personnel, in terms of staff, and embarking on this journey again.
Yeah.
And are probably looking to prove themselves in this competition, because obviously we qualified for the knockout round in 2016.
Yeah.
And then last year failed to get out the group. So, two teams with, I'm sure high hopes, one with, a big target on their back, and another one looking to prove themselves. So I think it's going to be a really exciting campaign. And like you emphasized, I really hope that people come out and support this, because, like you said, it's going to be pretty much for the next 2 or 3 months. There's going to be games at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. There's going to be games on the television which you can tune into and watch. It should be a festival of football for Philippine football fans. So we hope that everyone either tunes in or goes to the game live to watch the matches.
Definitely, 100%. If you guys are football fans, know of football fans, take them over to the Rizal Memorial Football Stadium and have a good time. I'm sure all the details of the matches, the kickoff times, will be made known very, very soon. All right. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to rate and review, and to tell your friends about this podcast, and drop us a comment on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Thank you for watching another episode of Across the Line.